I want to propose to my honey bunny who I love. Ooh. Alrighty. 'Tis the season for romance, love is in the air, all of that good stuff, so I'm going to do a We Attempt New Things retrospective project, recounting the planning and payoff of what was certainly a new thing, proposing to my now fiancé, and spoilers, she said yes. I love my honey, my fiancé, and after years of dating, meeting her family, and making sure our goals in life aligned, I was ready to propose. However, the proposal was somewhat delayed as the world went into lockdown. I thought to myself, how long could this last? And so I waited patiently to be let loose, to get down on one knee and... Oh wait, another family member proposed. Well, no mind, we'll wait a bit longer and don't want to step on anyone's toes and... Ugh, another Aussie lockdown. Ugh. Enough. I was sick of waiting. At this point, I had been resolved to propose for over a year, and I refused to wait anymore. I couldn't go out and look at rings, I couldn't reserve a venue and make a public declaration of love. What is a man in love supposed to do? Well, like all projects, I decided to come up with a plan. A multi-pronged romantic attack, adapting some original ideas I had for a proposal, so despite doing it from home, would maximize the romance. My honey and I are especially open with one another, as all successful relationships should be, so she knew a proposal was coming sometime soon, but I still wanted it to be a surprise. Yes, this plan would have to be romantic, full of memories, deception, and heart. Let me show you. The planning phase, of course, is where I formulated a basic outline of what I was going to do, and to help that I had a framing device. A Ferris wheel. Now, you may think, why a Ferris wheel? Was your first date at an amusement park? Did you take it by the hand, wait till you were at the top, and confess your love? No. Actually, much less sweet and romantic than that. To frame the engagement is to bring you back to the night where we first became a couple, the night where Honey actually asked me out. A terrible decision, and I'm sure she regrets it immensely. Not in too much detail, but Honey and I were friends before we started dating, and it was a simple night where I invited some friends over to chillax, play some games, and watch some anime, and Honey was amongst them. Along with some other mates, seeing that it was so late, they opted to stay the night and travel home in the morning, and Honey did so as well. So there we were, watching anime. Everyone else had retired for the night, and as I got up myself, Honey stopped me. Now, it was well past midnight at this point, so I don't remember exactly how the conversation started, but eventually it got to a point and my now fiancé dropped the bomb. Do you want to go out with me? Or was it, do you want to date? I mean, she was tired, I can't remember exactly what the words were, but the main point was definitely, oi, I like you, do you like me, do you want to try dating? Now, I, thick as a stack of bricks, had no idea this was coming, so I was surprised and trying to process. What followed was a long conversation working out the logistics of dating and me warning her that I was terribly unromantic, and by the end of it we considered ourselves a couple. So wait, what was I going on about? Oh yeah, a Ferris wheel. So the anime that was playing while we were having the conversation when she asked me out and I eventually said yes was Amagai Brilliant Park, an anime set predominantly at an amusement park, hence the Ferris wheel. Yeah, that's it. Well, back to the plan. So, a Ferris wheel as a framing device, I'm sure you've figured out where this is going. A multi-stage something where each carriage is a different thing. So, time to define the carriages. Now, I had a silly idea that while proposing, the carriages should either A, refer to things during our relationship, or B, show that I love my honey or that I'm attentive and know things about her. So I needed a decent mix between the two. You also can't have a romantic time without food, so food was going to be a large component. Finally, I'm a musician, so any proposal wouldn't be complete without a live performance. Food, music, memories, attentiveness. First, let's start with some memories. One of our most frequent date nights were dinners out. We went to a variety of places, some extra fancy and some not fancy at all. The problem with dinners is that my honey, as much as I love her, stinks at picking what to eat. I will often start wasting away from hunger before she decides, or I decide for her, on what to eat. To get around this conundrum, I came up with a relatively simple solution. Set menus. You can't have choice paralysis if the menu is already decided. So the Ferris wheel doubles as a sort of set menu. But more than that, these foods are also memories, and while I may not be able to deliver the exact same food that we ate, getting close enough will be a romantic reminder of those times. Big memories are things like our first dinner date, which was at a Japanese restaurant, which also sort of coincided with Japan trips we both took early on in our relationship, completely independent of one another, which we were both planning before we actually started dating. We also traveled to Korea. Remember traveling? I remember traveling. Though maybe we'll be able to travel again by the time this video comes out, since I'm writing it well in advance while all the memories are fresh, and ate lots of delicious food over there. Then another fond memory is the fanciest dinner we ever had, which included these delicious soup dumplings. So that's 3 meals and 3 memories: a Japanese dish, a Korean dish, and a soup dumpling. That's 3 carriages. What are more? Well, you can't just have food, you also need to have a drink. I know, I should get my honey's favorite drink. Oh, and we can't have a meal without honey's favorite food, that is to say, dessert, and that is to say her favorite ice cream. That's 5 carriages. Well, I know I'll be doing music for it, so why not put a musical interlude in one of the carriages? Sounds great. That's 6 carriages, a small but evenly weighted Ferris wheel. Alright, the dinner and flow has a structure. What else is there? Decoration. I can't just have her walk into a room looking like it always does. I want her to walk in and go, wow, how romantic. So decorations need to be put into the plan, and what says romantic decorations more than flowers? So put those in there as well. Outline for food, check. Outline for decorations, check. Well, if I'm proposing, I'll need some sort of ring, so secure a ring is on there as well. Okay, let's flesh it out. Carriage number 1, Japanese dish. Which dish? Japan has many tasty dishes and I frequently make Japanese curry, but at times with multiple options I defer to my honey's favorite. Sashimi. Sashimi is always better fresh, so I will need to pick it up on the day. Looking around my area, there aren't actually all that many sashimi options, but thankfully there is a fresh seafood store. And among the whole fish and crabs that they were selling, they did prepare and sell fresh salmon sashimi. Perfect. Dish decided. Carriage number 2, Korean dish. Like Japanese food, there are many different delicious Korean dishes. Unlike Japan though, I don't know my honey's favorites, so I asked. Not directly, of course, I framed it in more generalized terms and asked it as part of several questions. Her answer though was Korean barbecue. Under the guise that I was going to cook it for her though, she went for her favorite street food, tteokbokki, a rice cake dish. Now that's something I can cook, and the local Asian grocer has the sauce. We have spring onion, sesame seeds, and Korean rice cakes are easy to get as well. Second dish confirmed. Carriage number 3, soup dumplings. This was more tricky. As a Shanghai native, Honey has a taste for good soup dumplings. I know this because, as an experiment, I tried some frozen cook-at-home soup dumplings. They tasted just fine to me, but she was less than impressed. And less than impressed doesn't cut it for an engagement. So I looked around, and thankfully there was a dumpling place nearby that made xiaolongbao. So I'd have to hope that restaurant dumplings that sold themselves as tasting like Shanghai would make the cut. They were bound to be better than the frozen ones anyhow. They too would have to be purchased on the day, and more so, as hot food, fairly close to the proposal time. Carriage number 4, drink. At the same time I asked Honey about her favorite Korean food, I also made sure to confirm her favorite drink. I was surprised because I totally thought it was gin and tonic, but I ended up being mistaken. It was actually an old-fashioned. Now, I'm not much of a drinker, I can't stand beer, and I had a whiskey once and hated it. Frequently on dates, whenever we have our drinks brought to us, I'm normally given Honey's drink, and she receives mine. So, naturally, I had never mixed drinks before, so time to learn. First, the ingredients. Bourbon whiskey, bitters, a chunk of ice, sugar cube, a lemon slice, and an orange slice. From all the different YouTube tutorials I watched, some used only a lemon slice, and some used large ice cubes, while others opted for ice balls. Each old-fashioned was a little different, but they all had similar steps. I purchased all the alcohol and bitters and hid it in a cupboard, ordering some ice ball molds and put an orange and lemon on my on-the-day shopping list along with the sugar cubes. I didn't have any drink mixing equipment, but thankfully a friend that lived close by had exactly what I needed, so I borrowed it from her for the night. Practice? Well, watching YouTube videos is practice enough, right? And the method was thankfully relatively simple. It would be more entertaining to do it for the first time in front of Honey anyway, so Honey's favorite drink could be checked off the list. Carriage number 5, ice cream. This is the easiest. I've known Honey's favorite ice cream for years and buy it frequently whenever I want to get in her good graces, or if it's on special. Onto the shopping list it goes. Carriage number 6, the music. This one I had in mind for a while, and I was always going to propose with music. Originally, I was going to do it to John Legend's All of Me, but that changed when I found out that Honey really loved Ed Sheeran's Perfect, so I got to practicing. And this is literally a year before. Now, Perfect is not a difficult song, thank goodness. It's actually just a 4-chord song. The problem was that I wasn't going to be doing it on piano. If it was piano, I wouldn't even need to look it up. Instead, because my original plans were to propose somewhere scenic outside where pianos seldom appear in the wild, I decided to learn it on guitar. I am not a guitarist, in the slightest. I'm a musician, and I've plucked around on a guitar, so much so that for one Christmas my grandma decided to get me one, which got very little love, but now was the time to pick it up. A few YouTube videos for tips and some chord charts online, and I got to practicing. Bit by bit, I got better, sneaking in practice whenever I could, over and over again for months, because repetition legitimizes, repetition legitimizes, repetition legitimizes. Lastly, I had to learn the lyrics, and while I suck at memorization, at this point I had heard the song hundreds of times, so the lyrics stuck relatively quickly when I started putting the memorization effort in. Though I continuously kept accidentally saying when I said you looked a mess instead of when you said you looked a mess, which I really had to hammer out of myself. Nothing less romantic than calling your fiancé a mess just before you propose. Carriages set. Ferris wheel completed. Now the extraneous stuff, like decorations. Flowers are a must, and I had been, quite cruelly may I add, been teasing Honey about flowers for quite a while, refusing to buy her any, and whenever she mentioned flowers, I would say, "Well, I want to make flowers a surprise, so if you ask for them, you'll know they're coming, so I guess I'll push back a bit longer." This was, of course, a ruse. Perhaps incorrectly, I had come up with the idea that if I withheld flowers until I propose, when I actually get her flowers, it will be extra special. It didn't help that I had to delay the proposal for far longer than I initially intended, but the plan still stood. So after so much teasing, I had to make the flowers special. I ended up ordering 24 long stem roses, telling the store to deliver them after 2 p.m.ish, I'll explain why later, and then planning to grab a few more from a florist when I went to buy the other things I needed for the day. Next on the list was the Ferris wheel itself, and this is when the handicrafts come in. I took a dumbwaiter, made some spokes using cardboard and sticky taped it onto the dumbwaiter. I then drew and cut out 6 carriages, colouring them in different colours and writing each item on them, then gluing a little flap to hide it. My wonderfully terrible child's art project Ferris wheel was done. Balloons were next, but I had a plan for this too. We held a little belated surprise party for a friend several weeks before the proposal, and I intentionally purchased an extra large pack of balloons, knowing full well that we only needed a few for the party. I hid the remains in my cupboard. A last-minute addition, which was so romantic it should have been in the first draft, was a photo book. Several places offered photo book printing, and I picked up one that did simple hardcover ones that let me design the photo book online. I then spent lots of time putting it together, picking the cutest and most romantic photos, and ordered it. The main issue was I needed some photos from my Honey's phone, so under the guise of, we should back up our photos, I managed to convince her to get them on a hard drive for me. But by the time the proposal date was less than 2 weeks away, there was a slim chance it wouldn't arrive on time. Either way, I ordered it and hoped for the best. The ring. Well, since Honey and I are very open, she knew that I was wanting to propose, and she even had a rough time frame of when. I narrowed it down to about a month and a half for her. She also knew I was sick of waiting. In the end, we decided since it would be difficult to get the actual ring, we would get an intermediary ring, so we could spend our time looking after getting engaged, or even after getting married, just so we could find one we both liked. This made things much easier, and we purchased it online and promptly hid it away so Honey wouldn't know if it went missing. Finally, ordering things. As in the order of things, not ordering like ordering food. Okay, just forget it. It was a work day, so it would be in the afternoon, which meant that I would have to shop either in the morning or after flowers arrived. Since Honey also worked from home at the time, I would have to set up without her noticing somehow, and to do that I paid extra attention to her movements. One thing I could rely on pretty consistently was that after her lunch break, Honey didn't leave her office until the end of the workday, except to go to the bathroom. Thankfully, the dining area was hidden from both her workroom and the bathroom. Her lunch breaks usually ended around 1:30, hence why I ordered the flowers to arrive after 2 p.m. So, my idea. Wake up, pretend to be working, follow up things, do any prep in my office, have lunch, Honey has lunch, flowers are delivered, I set up the dining area with decorations, I then go shopping before the seafood place and dumpling place close, get home before Honey finishes work, wait for her to come into the dining area, and start the proposal process. Then the carriages. Hot food needs to be first, so soup dumplings, then seafood, then making the drink, then Honey can enjoy the drink while I dish and serve the tteokbokki. While she's eating, I grab the guitar and then start performing. During the final chorus, I move to one knee to finish the song, and then when it's over, present the ring and pop the question. Assuming she says yes, finish with ice cream. Pieces assembled, plan outlined, and the day drew near. I worked extra hours, let my boss know I was taking the day off, and finally the day came. Cue the music? Ah, man, I'm gonna have to come up with some heist-sounding music for this, aren't I? Alright, go. I really do work late the night before until 1 a.m, so I wake up tired, but so far everything is good. Honey is in a good mood and we have breakfast as usual. My usual work time hits. To throw Honey off the scent, I attend the morning online meeting so she hears that I'm attending it, because deception is of course key to a healthy relationship. I end it and stay confined, waiting to hear my Honey finish her regular morning call. I spend the morning blowing up balloons and following up on the flower order. They confirm that it's arriving today. All good. The photo book arrived a few days earlier and I picked it up without Honey noticing. The Ferris wheel is also already constructed. I casually let Honey know that I have to pick some stuff up, and that it's fine because I was working so late the previous night that I don't have a busy day today. She buys it. I pick up the drink mixing stuff and a tablecloth, I don't actually own one, and then come home and hide them in the high shelves where Honey can't see or reach. Midday hits, my usual lunchtime. I come downstairs to see a car. What? It ends up the rose delivery guy is just sitting in front of our place in plain view. I freak out, go outside and stare at him. He doesn't notice, I knock on his window and he jumps with a start. I need to get him out of sight as soon as possible. Honey could be down at any minute, and if she sees 24 roses, the surprise will definitely be ruined. He gives me the roses and heads off. I don't want to delay him, so I hold back the urge to complain about them delivering the flowers 2 hours early. I hide the roses somewhere safe and head to lunch. I end up making lunch for both Honey and myself. By the grace of God, her meeting was delayed, so she comes for a lunch later than expected, so she completely missed the delivery driver. She's feeling a bit tired afterwards and heads back to the bedroom with her work laptop. A bonus, if she falls asleep, my success is near guaranteed. Once she's situated in the bedroom, I start the decorating. Setting up the dining table with the tablecloth and roses, I spread the balloons on the floor, I line up the photo book and alcohol bottles and put the Ferris wheel next to where she'll be sitting. Finally, I make a little card warning her not to look at anything and put it on the table. Time for shopping. I boldly go to the shops and purchase everything on my shopping list, except for one thing. I couldn't find the Korean fish cakes needed for tteokbokki. Oh well, a purely rice cake based one should suffice. The salmon is fine and I get the bouquet while the dumplings are being prepared. I get home, verify that yes, Honey fell asleep and hasn't seen anything. I set up the rest of the flowers, I prepare the ingredients and put the salmon in the fridge. I start cooking the tteokbokki. I close the curtains, set up some romantic lighting, and for good measure, I grab some soft toys and put them in the remaining chairs. All set. The dumplings are cooling fast. Time to wake up Honey. She knew I was heading out for a shop. After all, I did lots of work yesterday, so I'll grab some groceries this arvo before the stores close. And I wake her gently saying, I picked you up a treat while I was shopping. Can you give it to me in bed? First hurdle. I eventually convince her to come to the dining room, but my insistence has made her suspicious. But she comes along, and then she sees the setup. Thankfully, I caught her reaction on camera, and no, you're not going to see it, but it was really cute, and you could see the gears turning in her freshly awoken brain as she processed what was happening. We broke for a short while, getting dressed into some nicer clothes, and came back to the dining room. I sat her down, showed her the photo book, and started the proposal. This video is getting very long, so I'm going to rapid fire. The soup dumplings were cold. And when I microwaved them, the soup had kind of evaporated, but they were still tasty, and Honey had been craving them, so it was fine. The salmon was lovely and fresh, though I bought way too much. The old-fashioned went surprisingly well, though the ice ball mold I purchased was smaller than expected, so I had to put a second sphere in. Though Honey did say it tasted like an old-fashioned, so I count it as a success. The tteokbokki was tasty though. I missed in the recipe where it said I should water down the sauce, so it was pretty spicy. Then the song. I didn't stuff up the line I was worried about, though there were plenty of other minor nerve mistakes. Then, entering the final chorus, I got down on one knee and finished the song.
I need to listen to cry. in the dark, with you between my arms, barefoot on the grass, and listening to our favorite song. I have faith in what I see, knowing that I have met an angel in person. You look perfect, and I don't deserve it, honey. You look perfect tonight.
Yeah, both singing and playing went downhill despite all my practice before. I started to tear up, but Honey was great support and helped me get through it. The romantic moment was somewhat alleviated when it took about 20 seconds to get the ring out of my back pocket. I had practiced that too, except in jeans, and I was wearing nicer pants to propose, and they had a tighter back pocket. Then I really failed at keeping my cool when saying the actual proposal lines, but Honey cried too, so we're even. She said yes, we kissed, we hugged, we kissed while hugging, and then we opened the final Ferris wheel carriage and had the ice cream. It didn't go perfectly to plan. There are plenty of little things I could have done better, but in the end, all the little imperfections are what made it us. There was lots of laughter and smiles, awkward mistakes that I made, but I wouldn't change it for the world, and I captured it all on video. Now I'm engaged to the woman I love, and I couldn't be happier. I guess I don't know how to end this video because it's still ongoing. Maybe by next year I'll be able to have a I want to get married video, or maybe a part 1 outlining that plan. If you're keen to see it, you may have to wait a while, but subscribe to get notified. How many of you have proposed, and what was your plan? Did you plan it out, or was it a this is the moment type thing? Let me know in the comments. I hope you have a lovely Valentine's Day, because remember, it's we attempt new things, not I attempt new things. Thank you all for watching, and I hope you have a fruitful day.